Welcome to Real Vermont News. Today, we're looking at how systemic far-left political indoctrination is currently on display in our Vermont public schools. A disturbing example is the so-called global strike and week of actions that's planned for the last week of September. A handful of left-wing activist and lobbyist groups like 350.org and VPIRG want students to skip school so they can block traffic, picket offices and businesses, and generally disrupt people from being able to function in their daily lives. It's an attempted large-scale temper tantrum organized by adults who want to use children to intimidate legislators and citizens into supporting a radical climate change agenda. Here's Ethan Allen Institute President Rob Roper with a report.
Thanks, Bob. These groups are calling on adults to go on strike from their jobs during this week-long protest too. But the issue we want to focus on today is that in too many cases, public school educators are actually encouraging and enabling students to take part in these protests. Is this education, or is this the political indoctrination and exploitation of our young people? These kids are being manipulated by political organizations and lobbyists to the detriment of their ability to learn reading, writing, math, and science. I mean, have you seen the proficiency scores that just came out?
Yeah, and it's not just climate change. We've seen high school kids, middle schoolers, even elementary school kids walking out of class to protest gun rights and racial issues, all with a collaboration of teachers and administrators who are backing the political activists.
You're right. These kids aren't being taught how to think. They're being taught what to think. And they're being used as props for propaganda purposes, all on the taxpayer's dime.
What do you say to people who argue that these kids have a point, that they should be allowed to express that point of view? We should actually listen to them.
Well, if these students were being exposed to both sides or all sides of the issues, if they were weighing the evidence pro and con and reaching their own conclusions as well as protesting on their own time and not school time, I'd say fine. But that's not what's happening. They're being told one side of the story, and other arguments are either absent or worse, being mocked by the people in charge. You know, that's not education, that's propaganda.
You know, it costs pretty close to $120 a day per student to attend our public schools. These activists have a lot of gall wasting that much of our money to send our kids out onto the street for the express purpose of creating mayhem in our daily lives and trying to force change we might not agree with. So, what's the solution? How do we get our public schools back to focusing on reading and writing, science and arithmetic?
Well, I think we need to adopt statewide school choice with the money following the child. Break up the public school monopoly that allows this kind of groupthink behavior to go on with impunity. If parents want to spend their voucher dollars for a school that'll turn their kid into a left-wing activist, that's fine. But if not, then parents should have the right and the financial resources to send their child to a school that reflects their values and priorities. Maybe pick a school that focuses on the importance of staying in the classroom to master STEM subjects instead of walking out at the drop of every hat to be a photo op for some politician's next campaign.
Thanks, Rob. If you don't like it that your tax dollars are being used to indoctrinate kids with left-wing ideas instead of teaching them to think for themselves, remember, sharing these videos using your Facebook share icon is a really good way to get the word out to thousands of people and rescue Vermont. You might also want to call your local school board members and ask some tough questions about any policies they have condoning or even encouraging student walkouts. And finally, contact me, Bob Frenier, at schoolchoicelawsuit@gmail.com and ask how you too can get into this fight for statewide school choice. There is no cost to be a plaintiff, and we'd love to have more of them. And that's all the Real Vermont News we have time for. A lot more happened, and we'll be looking into all of it.
Paid for by Rescue Vermont Political Action Committee. Bob Frenier, Treasurer.